In this video, we're going to talk about the 5 tips on how to grow bigger arms, okay? But I'm pretty sure you've heard the same song and dance is how you get bigger arms is go into the gym and lift a bunch of heavy weights, okay? Or perform these particular exercises, okay? So I'm not going to waste your time with that stuff, okay? It's not necessarily, I don't have the holy grail on an arm routine or whatever the case may be. Most of the stuff that I typically do is all the basics, but it's really about the approach of that workout routine, okay? And making sure that every effort I make in the gym is effective and efficient to whatever my goals are, okay? So wanting to grow bigger arms is different from wanting to grow stronger arms, okay? So we're gonna talk about in these 5 tips the difference in that, okay? And making sure that you're able to maximize your results in the gym when trying to grow bigger arms. So here we go. Okay, so tip number 1 is that you have to train this body part no different than any other body part, okay? So when you're training your biceps and your triceps, and you're going to have to train those 2 body parts together. I know that commonly in training programs, you'll see, especially bodybuilding programs, you'll see back trained together with biceps, or you'll see chest trained together with triceps. The issue with that is that one is a protagonistic muscle to the other muscle, right? So what ends up happening is that when you're training your triceps in your chest routine, your triceps are negatively impacting your chest exercises, especially your pressing exercises, okay? So you can never really get the full benefit of your chest exercises, because if you train your triceps before you train your chest, or while you're training your chest, one's fatiguing the other, okay? So you don't want a push routine when it comes to building muscle groups, okay, and also building the strength of them, okay, because you're trying to yield maximal effort and capacity during an exercise bout, and to be able to do that, you need to be able to give the muscle groups adequate rest even inside of the exercise bout, okay? So so you want to make sure that you're focusing on your arms no differently than you would focus on a chest routine or a back routine or a leg routine or whatever the case may be. I know that a lot of times people will come into the gym and they'll rush their arm workout. They'll spend an hour and a half on their chest, but they'll only spend a half hour on their arm routine, okay? So you have to spend more time focusing on your biceps no differently than you do your biceps and your triceps no differently than you do any other muscle group, okay? So don't rush them. I know that arm routines can be quote unquote boring, or not as fun as like a chest routine or back routine or shoulder routine, or however you do your splits. I know sometimes it's not as exciting, but you have to get excited about training your arms, okay? The next is a lot of mistakes that a lot of people make is they think to themselves, okay, I have to lift heavy to get bigger arms, okay? So that's a huge mistake when going into an arm routine, okay? The reason being that's a huge mistake when going into an arm routine, or any routine really, if you're trying to look for size. Lighter weights is really what's going to yield size of a muscle, but not just lighter weights. It ties me into my next tip, which is time under tension principle, okay? So tip number 2 would be the weight itself, okay? So making sure that you're training with lighter to moderately heavy weights for size. And then if you're looking for strength of the arms, then we go a little bit heavier, because with the heavier weight, you're likely going to end up leveraging muscles and levers that you wouldn't want to leverage if you're really truly trying to isolate a muscle group, okay? So you kind of just settle for quote unquote kind of cheating, because you're trying to leverage more weight, okay? You're trying to lift more weight, okay? So focusing on lighter weights for size is critical, like lighter to moderately heavy. Then we go into our time under tension principle, okay? So that's the idea of creating or creating stress on the muscle for a certain amount of time, okay? So those are tempo controlled repetitions, okay? So if we can control the tempo of the exercise, move it relatively slowly, both concentrically and eccentrically, allowing for those muscle fibers to truly stretch, okay, through that tempo-based exercises. You'll see a lot of benefit from your arm routine, okay, from a size component, and also from a strength component as well. But those explosive repetitions aren't going to necessarily stretch the fascia or the muscle as much as that time under tension, when we're really looking for that volume and that size, okay? And then next, then we obviously have volume, okay? So a lot of times, people will get into the gym, and like I said, they're not spending enough time on their arm routines, right? So they're kind of rushing through the arm workouts and not putting as much volume into the routine. And when we talk about volume, we mean sets and reps, okay? So they may do 5 sets on a bench press, but they're only doing 3 sets of a bicep curl. That's not good enough. That's not going to give you the size and the strength that you're looking for from your arms, okay? So and I also look at your arms as a part of your upper body unit to help your big compound lifts, okay? So the stronger I can make my biceps, right, the stronger my back's going to be, right? The stronger I can make my triceps, the more durable I can make my triceps, the stronger my presses are going to be, right? Shoulder presses, chest presses, all that stuff, right? So making sure that I'm getting as much volume in my routine as possible is hypercritical to building bigger, and in some context, stronger arms, depending on the weight that we're working with, okay? And then tip number 5 is creating angles, and I like to say they're disadvantage angles, so that way you can truly isolate the muscle group you're looking to work, okay? So if I were to take a incline position bicep curl, so if I was on an incline bench, and I was going to take that incline position, and I was going to perform a dumbbell bicep curl. I'm leaning back in the bench, okay? My shoulders are pinned backwards, my arms are hanging at the side. I'm able to isolate my biceps a lot more than if I were just standing upright and trying to do a bicep curl, okay? Just because the angle of the bench now pins my shoulders back, and gravity pulls not only my shoulder blades back, but it pulls my delts backwards, so that way I can't use that momentum to help me to do a bicep curl, okay? I get a lot less of an advantage leverage position in that incline position than I would in that standing position, okay? So creating disadvantaged positions for isolation are crucial for really trying to grow a muscle, right? Especially the arms, okay? The arms will really respond relatively pretty well. And it's a lot easier to create those disadvantaged positions in an arm workout than most other exercises. It's kind of difficult to do that with a leg exercise like a quad extension or hamstring curl, just because that joint is just compromised. You could compromise the joint, and you don't want to tear your knees up and stuff like that. So, but with arms, I feel like you just got a lot more play with the shoulder joint and with the elbow. You create different angles with your shoulder. Okay, so making sure to create those angles that truly isolate the bicep or the tricep will allow for you to yield those benefits for building bigger arms. Okay, so. And another tip is, or another thought to think about is that there's no real true isolation of a muscle group. Okay. You can never truly isolate any muscle group. Okay. You can get close to maybe 70, 80% isolation. That may even be being generous, because there's always going to be other muscles involved in performing any movement in your body. So, I can't take my forearms completely out of the equation if I'm trying to train my biceps, okay? I can go flat palm up, and if I'm doing a bicep curl, that allows me to get less forearm engagement, less of those forearm flexors to engage and allow for the bicep to work more. But the forearms are still going to be helping in some capacity, right? And then my triceps help as I descend the weight back down again, okay? So as I work through the negative. So it's almost nearly impossible to get 100% isolation, but you can get a lot more if you focus on form and technique, focus on creating those disadvantage leverage positions. So that way you can isolate the muscle group more. Okay, so those are my 5 tips on building bigger arms. Okay, so focusing on those 5 tips, if you can, will give you greater outcomes in regards to building those bigger arms. Okay, and just to mention, if you want to learn more, or you want to get some coaching or get some training on how to build a stronger bench, stronger squats, stronger deadlifts, stronger overhead presses, whatever the case may be. There's a link in my YouTube page that goes directly to my website. You can check that out and get access to my free course. And if you end up liking that, then there's some options for you to enroll in into my program beyond that. Okay, so I hope that these tips help. All right, and hope to see you guys again soon. All right, peace.